许多人喜欢到南极或到北极去旅行，他们认为在极地旅行代表你到世界的尽头，带着诗情又带着画意。但并不是所有的人，当他旅行的时候，他只想到这一点，他会想到这个大自然是上天赋予的，人类只是借助的人，你没有权利毁掉地球以及这么美好、这么纯净的地方。一位德国的电影制作人，他的名字叫芬克朗斯，他热爱很靠近北极的挪威特殊的风景。在每一年，他都会到靠近北极的极地的一次旅行当中，他发现怎么这个地方会有一个德国的啤酒罐，是旅客乱扔的吗？还是洋流飘过来？于是他就决定拍了这么一个纪录片。他想要探讨原因，访问各方的科学家。第一个就是人们在阿尔卑斯山、欧洲阿尔卑斯山头丢了很多的垃圾，而这些垃圾最后没有办法全部的分解，就成了塑胶为例。然后随着整个阿尔卑斯山的冰雪一融化掉，它就到了海里头去，慢慢随着洋流，也进入了在北极这个地方。另外也有相当多的生态各种不同的污染，像他所看到那个啤酒罐，很可能是你丢到易北河去，然后呢就随着洋流呢就飘到了北极去。人类不断的在各个地方海上制造各种类型的污染，然后随着有些洋流，它飘向了最纯净的地方。或许有一天，当人类慢慢灭绝的时刻，上帝会开口说话，不只是说我们是最愚蠢的生物，也会说这是一个最贪婪的生物。这个生物毁灭了自己，毁灭了其他的物种，也毁灭了地球。
This is horrible, man. You see, you're becoming a plastic archaeologist. It's just horrible. The whole Earth is just so polluted. There's these layers.
What is that?
Of different generations. If you would just figure out how much plastic there is just along this little coastline, it's heartbreaking, man. It's everywhere. This looks thick.
那次在挪威的旅行，让独立电影导演克朗斯成为一名坚定的环保人士。
We paddled to an island in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. It's inaccessible by foot. I think we've all seen pictures of polluted beaches before, but so much plastic waste in the Arctic? I had no idea.
Japan.
Everything in Norway is written in.
Eines der Dinge, die mich nicht mehr los.
And there was even a German beer
Eine deutsche
bottle
Bierflasche.
in the middle of the Arctic.
Mitten in der Arktis.
Because I don't want the garbage to end up in the Arctic. But how likely is it? To end up in the Arctic, the garbage would have to drift downstream about 600 kilometers to Hamburg, and from there to the North Sea, then the Atlantic. In the end, a piece of plastic would have to have traveled over 2,500 kilometers to end up near Chris in the Arctic.
So
I started doing research.
recherchieren.
他想知道一个塑胶瓶的奇幻漂流是如何塑化北极、污染北冰洋的生态。克朗斯和朋友以充满科学求证的精神，历经3年3次实验，制作出带有 GPS 的漂浮项目“木筏男孩”，最终证明人类的垃圾是怎么出现在北极圈。
Das habe ich.
I found this in the Atlantic Ocean 5 or 6 years ago. You can't even tell what it was. It's actually the process of microplastic formation. All these little crumbs that we see here, they used to be pieces of these larger yellow pieces. This was actually just sitting around in my house. I've only moved it a few times and it's still decomposing. And that's basically what happens in the environment, that these larger objects continue to decompose until they become microplastics. My name is Dr. Lars Guttorp. I'm a marine microbiologist at the Alfred Wegener Institute in Bremerhaven. Basically, I study the reactions of marine animals and ecosystems to a changing environment. And these changes can be natural, but they can also be caused by humans, such as climate change or the pollution. Every plastic object is more or less unique, and there is this variety of animals that are sensitive and react in many different ways to the plastic. The effects are basically as diverse as the animal world itself. What we often observe in many animals is that microplastics in the tissues trigger oxidative stress. This can damage the genetic material and can also damage the fats that are necessary, for example, to build cell membranes. Proteins can also be attacked, creating a sort of inflammation.
My name is Melanie Bergman. I'm a deep-sea researcher on marine litter and climate change in the Arctic. The Alfred Wegener Institute has had the Hausgarten Deep Sea Observatory since 1999, specifically to track the effects of climate change. This includes towed-in camera systems, which are dragged 1.5 meters above the seabed, along the same route every year. And we've noticed that we're seeing more and more rubbish on the seabed, and we took a detailed look at various stations, thousands of images, and found that the amount of trash increased sevenfold between 2004 and 2017. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg. We have also started to quantify microplastics and found enormous amounts. At one station, there were 13,000 particles per kilogram of sediment, and that exceeded anything we had previously imagined.
You know that whenever it drifts in the ocean, it can get a layer of microbes on it. This is exactly the problem, like how it travels, and some of the plastic will then continue along the coastlines and then go north.
Now here it stops for you, but in reality, probably what happened is that tiny bits broke off, and they could have washed back. They can slowly, step by step, every time becoming smaller and smaller, and that's how we get microplastic in the Arctic.
We found over 10,000 particles of microplastic per liter of melted sea ice. This shows that airborne microplastic goes everywhere on our planet.
And we scientists are relatively united in our opinion that we will no longer be able to get it out, that most of the plastic that is now in the oceans will remain there. Much of the large amount of waste will break down into microplastics, but we won't really get it out, especially not if it is the size of microplastics.
Yes, I am worried. A study last year showed, for example, that microplastics even pass from the mother to not yet born fetuses via the placenta. And it's disturbing that children are exposed to it before they are even born. And I wonder if this somehow impairs their development, changes it in some way.
Verändert in irgendeiner Form.
If you think about it, then it becomes clear very quickly that it is not only an environmental problem, but a social problem. We live in an economic system that is based on continuous growth, a constant increase in production. At some point, we have so much that we can no longer control it. And we're starting to see those effects. Something that seemed as infinite as the ocean, where we thought everything we threw in we'd never see again, is bringing all that material back to us now.
And that, I think, is the most important thing. The plastic is on top of all the other pressures that we put on the ocean. It's on top of the ocean warming, the ocean acidification, the ocean overfishing, the noise pollution, all of the other things that we're doing to the ecosystems in the ocean. It could very well be that the plastic is the drop that tips the bucket.